Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her observatory's window, her coffee growing cold in her trembling hands as she watched the massive ships materialize above Shanghai. The vessels seemed to defy physics itself, their crystalline structures refracting the morning sunlight into cascading rainbows that painted the city below in ethereal colors. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," her assistant called from the monitoring station. "The electromagnetic readings are off the charts. Whatever field they're using to maintain those structures, it's like nothing we've ever seen." She forced herself away from the window, setting down her untouched coffee. The readouts confirmed what her eyes could barely process. Each ship was roughly the size of Manhattan, yet they hovered in perfect formation, defying Earth's gravitational pull with apparent ease. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In New York, traffic ground to a halt as millions craned their necks skyward. In Lagos, streets filled with a mixture of prayer and celebration. In Moscow, military jets scrambled but maintained a respectful distance, their pilots acutely aware of how insignificant their aircraft appeared next to the alien vessels. The first message came precisely 3 hours after their arrival. Every screen on Earth, from smartphones to digital billboards, flickered simultaneously. The aliens called themselves the Harvesters, and their message was simple: we bring prosperity to the stars. Global markets soared. Religious leaders declared the fulfillment of various prophecies. Social media exploded with memes about humanity's new space parents. Yet in secure facilities across the globe, a handful of individuals noticed troubling patterns. Admiral James Harrison sat in the Pentagon's secure briefing room, watching satellite footage of the Harvester ship's arrival. "Play it again," he ordered, his weathered face illuminated by the screen's blue glow. Frame by frame, the footage showed something the public celebrations had missed: the precise positioning of the ships, creating a grid pattern that covered Earth's major resource deposits and population centers. In Beijing, General Li Wei examined similar footage, reaching the same unsettling conclusion. The Harvester's formation wasn't random. It was tactical. But when she raised her concerns to the Central Committee, she was politely reminded that questioning humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization could damage China's position in upcoming negotiations. The Harvesters requested a global summit in Geneva, ostensibly to establish diplomatic relations. They sent a delegation of 3 representatives, their bodies concealed in shimmering environmental suits that they claimed were necessary due to Earth's atmospheric composition. Their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, as they addressed the United Nations General Assembly. "Your world stands at the threshold of a great transformation," the lead delegate announced, its words translated simultaneously into all Earth languages. "We offer you the knowledge of 1,000 civilizations, the technology to end scarcity, the key to the stars themselves." In the audience, Dr. Chen, invited as a scientific advisor, noticed something odd. The delegates' suits appeared to be analyzing everything they encountered, taking readings of the air, the building materials, even the humans themselves. When she mentioned this to her colleague, she was brushed off. Who wouldn't want to study a new species, after all? But in her hotel room that night, she couldn't shake her unease. She compiled her observations, the ship's positions, the delegates' behavior, the electromagnetic readings that suggested massive energy weapons powered down but ready. It painted a picture that nobody seemed willing to see. She drafted emails to various scientific institutions, but deleted them all. Who would believe her? The Harvesters were offering everything humanity had ever dreamed of. The few voices of caution were already being dismissed as paranoid or regressive. As she finally drifted off to sleep, her phone buzzed with breaking news. The Harvesters had announced they would begin sharing their technology within 24 hours. The first phase would involve establishing direct connections between their ships and Earth's major resource extraction facilities, purely to help upgrade them. Of course. In orbit, behind their crystalline facades, the Harvesters began their final calculations. Earth's defenses were negligible, its population distracted by promises of advancement. They had done this 1,000 times before. No species had ever seen through their deception until it was too late. But they had never encountered humans before. The Geneva Summit's main hall glittered with optimism and champagne. World leaders mingled with harvester delegates, their environmental suits now decorated with Earth's various cultural symbols, a gesture of goodwill that drew appreciative murmurs from the assembled dignitaries. Dr. Chen watched from her position near the back, counting down the minutes until the technology transfer ceremony. She'd spent the last 24 hours trying to warn anyone who would listen about her concerns, but her emails had gone unanswered, her calls unreturned. Beautiful, isn't it? Admiral Harrison appeared beside her, his dress uniform immaculate. Almost too beautiful. Before she could respond, the lights dimmed. The lead harvester delegate glided to the center of the hall, its suit now emanating a soft, calming glow. Honored representatives of Earth, it began. The moment of transformation has arrived. In Seoul, 16-year-old Minji Park sat in her makeshift coding den, surrounded by monitors. She'd been tracking the alien ship's communications out of curiosity, using modified radio telescope data. Something about their transmission patterns had caught her attention. They were too regular, too structured, almost like. Her eyes widened. "A countdown," she whispered. Back in Geneva, the lead delegate raised its arms. "Let the joining of our civilizations begin." Screens around the hall displayed live feeds from resource facilities worldwide, where harvester technology was connecting to Earth's infrastructure. Dr. Chen's phone buzzed. An email from an unknown sender. PKT Machich. Orbital deployment identical to KEPLER 186 FXTING EV. The champagne glass slipped from her hand. At that exact moment, Minji's screens exploded with activity. The alien's communication pattern shifted, becoming aggressive, militant. She frantically began copying the data, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she tried to alert someone, anyone. The first extraction spire punched through the Pacific Ocean 50 miles off the Japanese coast. The water around it began to swirl, forming a massive whirlpool as the spire drew seawater up into the waiting ships. Similar spires descended across the globe, targeting oceans, mineral deposits, and population centers. In Geneva, the delegates' environmental suits transformed, revealing weaponry beneath their decorative facades. "Your resources are now property of the harvest," the lead delegate announced, its gentle tone replaced by cold efficiency. "Resistance will result in immediate population reduction." Chaos erupted in the hall. Security forces drew weapons, but were immediately immobilized by some kind of energy field. Admiral Harrison grabbed Dr. Chen's arm, pulling her toward a concealed exit. "We need to get to the bunker," he shouted over the screams. "Now." In Seoul, Minji watched in horror as her city's skyline was suddenly dominated by descending harvester drones. But something else caught her attention, a pattern in their control signals. Complex, yes, but not unbreakable. Her fingers resumed their dance across the keyboard. Military forces worldwide scrambled to respond. Fighter jets launched, only to be swatted from the sky by energy weapons. Tanks fired shells that dissipated harmlessly against alien shields. The harvesters had clearly planned for every conventional response. But they hadn't planned for Minji. Deep in her digital den, she found a flaw in their network. The aliens' technology was advanced, yes, but it was also arrogant. They'd never bothered to protect against what they considered primitive intrusion methods. Minji's hack, based on exploits she developed for online games, shouldn't have worked against advanced alien technology. But it did. In Geneva, as the harvesters began herding world leaders into containment fields, their suits suddenly flickered. For just a moment, their weapons powered down. It was enough. Admiral Harrison and a group of security personnel seized the opportunity, tackling the nearest delegates. The alien response was immediate and brutal. Orbital weapons fired, vaporizing the entire summit building. But Harrison, Dr. Chen, and a handful of others had already reached the bunker. carrying something invaluable. A damaged alien environmental suit. As humanity reeled from the initial assault, 3 separate responses were already in motion. In Seoul, Min-ji transmitted her hack worldwide. In the Geneva bunker, Dr. Chen began analyzing the captured technology. And in secure military installations across the globe, commanders realized that conventional warfare wasn't the answer. The real war was about to begin. 3 weeks after the Geneva betrayal, Captain Sarah Rodriguez led her team through the abandoned subway tunnels beneath Manhattan. Above them, harvester drones patrolled streets they thought they controlled. The aliens had quickly learned that controlling the sky didn't mean they controlled the ground. "Contact," whispered her communications specialist, pointing to their jerry-rigged sensor array. A combination of salvaged alien tech and modified smartphones running Min-ji's decryption algorithms. Harvester ground force, moving through the 42nd Street station. Rodriguez smiled grimly. The aliens were getting predictable. Every day, they sent patrols deeper into the tunnels, trying to flush out resistance fighters. Every day, they learned the hard way why humans had perfected underground warfare over thousands of years. In Moscow's Metro 2, the secret subway system built during the Cold War, General Lai Wei, who had escaped China during the initial attack, coordinated with Russian special forces. The Chinese general's warning had gone unheeded before the invasion. Now her tactical expertise was proving invaluable. They relied too heavily on their technology, she explained, pointing to a map showing harvester patrol routes. They scanned for energy signatures, heat patterns, radio communications, but they never looked for the obvious. Her point was proven minutes later when a harvester patrol in Moscow disappeared into a sinkhole, courtesy of municipal water department workers who had spent decades maintaining the city's underground infrastructure. The aliens' advanced sensors never detected the deliberately weakened tunnel supports. Back in Manhattan, Rodriguez's team set their trap. They didn't have many functioning EMP devices, salvaged from the aliens' own broken equipment, but they didn't need them. The tunnel residents, those who had lived underground long before the invasion, had taught them something valuable. In confined spaces, simple solutions often worked best. The Harvester Patrol entered the kill zone. Their environmental suits gleamed in the darkness, sensors sweeping for threats. They detected nothing until ancient fire suppression systems, modified with a cocktail of chemicals developed by resistance scientists, activated above them. The mixture didn't damage their suits, but it coated their sensors, effectively blinding them. What followed wasn't a battle, it was a harvest of their own technology. In Seoul, Min-ji coordinated these global guerrilla actions from a bunker deep beneath her family's electronics store. Her network of hackers had grown, each adding their own expertise to cracking alien systems. Today, they'd discovered something crucial. The Harvester's neural network had limitations. They think linearly, she explained over the secure channel, bounced through old television broadcast frequencies the aliens ignored. Their tactical responses are perfect, but only for scenarios they've encountered before. They literally cannot comprehend solutions that don't follow their logic. Dr. Chen, working from the Geneva bunker, confirmed this finding. The captured environmental suit revealed that the Harvester's technology was built on strict, unbreakable protocols. They're so advanced, she noted, they'd forgotten how to improvise. This weakness was exploited worldwide. In the Amazon, indigenous guides led resistance fighters through rainforest paths that confused alien sensors. Australian Aboriginal trackers taught others how to move through the outback without leaving traces the harvesters could detect. Vietnamese veterans shared techniques that had proven effective against technologically superior forces decades before. The harvesters responded with overwhelming force, unleashing orbital strikes against suspected resistance locations. But they were fighting shadows. By the time their energy weapons struck, their targets had already moved, leaving behind traps that claimed more alien technology for human use. Admiral Harrison, coordinating from a mobile command center in the Appalachian Mountains, received the daily reports with growing optimism. Humanity was bloodied but adapting. Each successful ambush provided more alien tech to study. Each failed harvester operation revealed more about their limitations. "We're not fighting a superior force," he told his staff. "We're fighting an inflexible one. And if there's one thing humans know how to do, it's exploit inflexibility." As if to prove his point, Minji's next transmission arrived. She had found a way to not just hack their communications, but to feed false data into their neural network. The harvesters were about to learn that their greatest strength, their technological superiority, could become their greatest vulnerability. The resistance was no longer just surviving. It was evolving. Dr. Isabella Morales hadn't left her research station in the Andes for 2 months. She'd watched through high-powered telescopes as harvester ships maintained their perfect formation above Earth, unmoved by anything humanity threw at them. Until last Tuesday, when everything changed. "Play it again," she instructed her team, studying footage of a harvester ship during an unexpected storm. The vessel's crystalline structure had flickered, its position shifting by several meters before stabilizing. To most observers, it would have seemed insignificant. To a meteorologist who had spent 20 years studying atmospheric disturbances, it was revelation. Their shields can't compensate for rapid atmospheric pressure changes, she explained over a secure link to Resistance Command. They're designed for space combat, not planetary weather systems. In Australia's Red Centre, Uncle Jimmy, an Aboriginal elder and meteorologist, had noticed something similar. The Dreamtime stories spoke of weather spirits that could be called upon in times of need. He dismissed these as metaphors until he started correlating ancient weather patterns with modern satellite data. The old people knew, he told Dr. Chen over a static-filled connection. They knew how to read the land, how to predict when the big storms would come. But more importantly, they knew how to call them. The Resistance's greatest minds converged on this discovery. Minji's hacker collective reprogrammed weather satellites to provide real-time data. Dr. Moreles's team developed models predicting atmospheric conditions that would most affect harvester ships. Uncle Jimmy's traditional knowledge helped them understand how to nudge weather patterns in the desired direction. Admiral Harrison authorized Operation Stormbreaker despite significant risks. They would only get one chance before the harvesters adapted. The first test came during a natural storm front over the Indian Ocean. Resistance teams had planted modified Tesla coils, built using salvaged alien power cores, at strategic points around the coast. When the storm reached its peak, they activated. The result exceeded their wildest expectations. The harvester ship monitoring the region's resource extraction was caught in a perfect storm of natural and artificial forces. Lightning, amplified by the Tesla network, struck its shields thousands of times per second. The crystalline structure, designed to deflect energy weapons, couldn't handle the chaotic, unpredictable patterns of Earth's atmosphere. From her mountain observatory, Dr. Morales watched through tears as the massive ship lost altitude, its perfect geometry distorting under the onslaught. "It's not just working," she reported. "It's working better than we predicted. Their shields are calibrated for coherent energy patterns. Natural lightning. It's too random, too primal." The harvesters' response was immediate and predictable. They launched a massive counterattack against the identified Tesla coils, obliterating them with orbital strikes. But they were once again fighting the last war. The Resistance had already moved to Phase 2. Uncle Jimmy led teams across Australia, setting up smaller, mobile Tesla arrays disguised as traditional ceremonial sites. Similar installations appeared in the Rockies, the Himalayas, and the Alps. Each was carefully positioned based on ancient weather knowledge combined with modern atmospheric science. "The land remembers," Uncle Jimmy said as he activated another array. "We just needed to learn how to listen again." Minji's contribution proved crucial. Her team had cracked enough of the harvesters' weather monitoring protocols to feed them false data. While their ships prepared for storms that didn't exist, real tempests gathered in supposedly clear skies. The turning point came during a coordinated strike involving 3 manufactured superstorms. The harvesters, unable to distinguish between natural weather patterns and artificial manipulation, found their fleet boxed in by atmospheric disturbances they couldn't predict or counter. Dr. Chen, analyzing the data from her bunker, identified another advantage. The storms were interfering with the harvesters' neural network. Their hive mind, which required precise communication between ships, degraded under the electromagnetic chaos of Earth's weaponized atmosphere. "We found their weakness," Admiral Harrison announced to resistance leaders worldwide. "They came expecting to fight humans. Instead, they're fighting the planet itself." As reports of more harvester ships losing altitude poured in, Dr. Morales allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had unlocked something the aliens, for all their advanced technology, had forgotten. Nature itself could be the greatest weapon of all. The storms were just the beginning. Dr. Maya Patil almost missed it. In her makeshift lab deep within the Brazilian rainforest, she'd been studying tissue samples from a damaged harvester environmental suit when a common laboratory contamination nearly ruined her work. A native fungus, Ophiocordyceps brasilensis, had infected her samples. She was about to dispose of them when she noticed something extraordinary. The alien tissue was decomposing at an unprecedented rate. "It's not just affecting their biological material," she reported excitedly over the Resistance's secure network. "The fungus is actually breaking down their synthetic components too. Something in their biochemistry makes them uniquely vulnerable." In the Geneva bunker, Dr. Chen received Maya's data with growing excitement. Their environmental suits, she realized, they're not just for show. They're not protecting them from our atmosphere. They're protecting them from our entire biosphere. The revelation spread through resistance channels like wildfire. The harvesters, for all their technological superiority, had never encountered Earth's aggressive biodiversity. Their sterile ships and perfect protocols had left them defenseless against billions of years of terrestrial evolution. Minji's hackers quickly located and downloaded the harvesters' biological research data. They didn't even bother studying most of Earth's microorganisms, she reported. They classified them as primitive organic contaminants. They literally don't know what they're breathing. Operation Bloom took shape with unprecedented speed. Underground labs from Tokyo to Toronto began cultivating modified strains of the fungus. Dr. Patel's team worked around the clock, selecting for variants that could survive in different climates and spread more aggressively. The first deployment came during a harvester ground operation in Vietnam. The resistance forces retreated through a valley, leaving behind what appeared to be abandoned equipment. The aliens, following their standard salvage protocols, moved in to collect it. Within hours, their suits began to fail. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying way," Dr. Patil observed, watching helmet cam footage of the incident. The fungus had penetrated microscopic weaknesses in the environmental suits, growing through the very materials designed to protect the harvesters. Their advanced filtration systems, calibrated for known biological threats, couldn't detect or stop Earth's microscopic invaders. Admiral Harrison immediately authorized full deployment. High-altitude drones, their designs based on recovered harvester technology, but modified by human engineers, released fungal spores into the upper atmosphere. The alien ships, whose sterilization protocols focused on their internal environments, unknowingly circulated the contaminants throughout their fleet. The harvesters' response revealed their desperation. They began sterilizing entire regions with radiation, sacrificing their own ground forces and extraction operations to contain the biological threat. But Earth's life had spent eons adapting to hostile conditions. "They don't understand convergent evolution," Dr. Patil explained to resistance leadership. "Every time they kill one strain, they're just creating selection pressure for more resistant variants. They're actually helping us breed better weapons." In her soul bunker, Minji discovered another advantage. The harvester's neural network, already strained by the Resistance's weather warfare, was further degraded by the biological attack. Their hive mind couldn't process the chaotic, organic nature of the threat. "They think in straight lines," she explained. Their systems are trying to predict mutation patterns using linear algorithms. But life doesn't work that way. Evolution is messy, unpredictable. It's breaking their models. The turning point came when the fungus reached the harvesters' orbital platforms. Their ships, designed to be self-contained ecosystems, became their own worst enemies. The spores spread through their recycling systems, growing in ways that defied their antiseptic protocols. Dr. Chen, analyzing captured harvester communications, detected a new element in their transmissions: fear. "They've never experienced anything like this," she reported. "They can't understand how something so primitive could defeat their advanced biotechnology." In her rainforest lab, Dr. Patel watched as another batch of modified spores matured. "We didn't create this weapon," she mused. "Earth did. We just helped it find its target." The harvesters had come expecting to find a primitive world ripe for exploitation. Instead, they found themselves fighting not just humanity, but the entire planet's biosphere. And Earth's smallest organisms were proving to be its most effective defenders. The invasion had become an infection, and Earth's immune system was fighting back. The Harvester's Supreme Command made its desperate move at dawn. Their planet-killer weapon manifested above Earth's atmosphere, a massive crystalline structure that dwarfed their largest ships. Its purpose became clear as it began to align with Earth's magnetic poles. "They're going to boil the oceans," Dr. Chen announced grimly from the Geneva bunker, her voice carrying across the Resistance's global network. "The weapon uses Earth's own magnetic field to generate heat. They'll kill everything rather than admit defeat." The Harvester's ultimatum followed: surrender within 6 hours, or watch Earth's biosphere collapse. In previous conflicts, such a threat had always worked. But humanity didn't break. Instead, something unprecedented happened. Deep beneath Shanghai's ruins, Chinese quantum computers spun up to full power. In Silicon Valley's hidden bunkers, experimental AI systems processed data at unprecedented rates. From Seoul, Minji coordinated the largest distributed computing network ever created, linking everything from supercomputers to salvaged gaming consoles. "We have their base code," she announced, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. "Every piece of technology they've used against us, every weapon they've deployed. It's all built on the same fundamental programming language. We just need to crack it before they crack our planet." The planet killer's energy signature grew stronger. Surface temperatures began to rise. In Brazil, Dr. Patel's team worked frantically to preserve samples of their biological weapons, knowing they might be humanity's only hope for reclaiming a scorched Earth. But she also noticed something else. The fungal strains were adapting to the increasing heat, evolving faster than anyone thought possible. "Life finds a way," she whispered, remembering an old movie quote that now carried new weight. Admiral Harrison coordinated the global military response from his mobile command center. Every remaining fighter jet, every salvaged alien weapon, every weather control station, all stood ready. They couldn't stop the planet killer, but they could buy time. 4 hours remaining. The Harvester transmission boomed across all frequencies. "Your resistance has been noted in the Galactic records. Submit now, and some of your species may be preserved." The response came from an unexpected source. Dr. Ismail Rahman, a previously unknown computer scientist from Bangalore, had been quietly working on combining Indian classical mathematical principles with modern encryption algorithms. His message to the resistance was simple: "I know how their code works." Everything moved with incredible speed after that. Rahman's insights, combined with Chinese quantum computing and Minji's hacking expertise, revealed the planet killer's fundamental flaw. Like all Harvester technology, it was built on perfect, unchanging protocols. It couldn't adapt to unexpected variables. 3 hours remaining. Dr. Chen's team finished their analysis of the captured environmental suit's power systems. Russian weapons specialists had already begun modifying their remaining EMP devices based on her findings. In orbit, the weapon's crystal structure began to pulse with energy. 2 hours remaining. The global temperature had risen 2 degrees. Coastal cities reported rising water levels as the polar ice began to melt. But in underground labs and bunkers worldwide, humanity prepared its counterattack. 1 hour remaining. Minji's network had infected the Harvester's neural network with a virus based on Raman's mathematical principles. The weather control stations were aligned. The modified fungal strains were loaded into high-altitude delivery systems. Every salvaged piece of alien technology had been reprogrammed. Final warning. Admiral Harrison gave the order. Across the planet, humanity launched its unified response. Weather control stations triggered massive electromagnetic storms. Modified fungal spores, now heat-resistant, flooded the upper atmosphere. Every hacked alien system began broadcasting Raman's code, creating a cascade of contradictory commands through the Harvester network. The planet killer weapon faltered. Its perfect crystalline structure, designed to channel energy in precise patterns, couldn't handle the chaotic assault. The Harvester neural network, already strained by biological and electronic warfare, began to fragment under the combined attack. For the first time in their history of conquest, the Harvesters faced an enemy that refused to break, refused to submit, and most importantly, refused to stop adapting. The planet killer's crystal structure began to crack. The real battle for Earth was about to begin. As the planet killer weapon shuddered in orbit, a small team prepared for humanity's most audacious mission. In a hardened facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Captain Rodriguez checked her salvaged teleporter unit one final time. The device, reverse-engineered from captured Harvester technology, had never been tested with human subjects. The calculations are solid, Dr. Chen assured her through the comlink. Raman's equations predict a 93% chance of successful materialization. And the other 7%? Rodriguez asked, watching her team gear up. Let's focus on the 93, Chen replied. The strike team represented humanity's best chance at victory. Each member carried technology and knowledge from Earth's unified resistance. Minji's viral code was loaded into their modified Harvester tablets. Dr. Patel's most aggressive fungal strain was sealed in their specialized delivery systems. Even Uncle Jimmy had contributed, providing ancient navigation techniques that worked without relying on potentially compromised electronic systems. Remember, Admiral Harrison briefed them one final time. The Harvester's neural network is their strength and their weakness. Their entire civilization depends on perfect, unbroken communication. You're not just boarding their command ship, you're attacking the core of their society. High above, the weather control network unleashed its most powerful storm yet, creating an electromagnetic umbrella that would mask the team's teleport signature. The Harvesters, still struggling with their malfunctioning planet killer, didn't detect the small energy spike that marked humanity's first teleport attempt. The world held its breath. Rodriguez opened her eyes to find herself and her team inside the Harvester command ship's peripheral storage chamber. The alien architecture surrounded them, all crystalline surfaces and impossible angles. Their modified environmental suits, based on captured Harvester designs but enhanced with Dr. Patel's bioshielding, protected them from the ship's hostile atmosphere. Encryption protocols identified. Minji's voice came through their secure comms. You have 18 minutes before their systems detect the anomaly. The team moved swiftly through the ship's corridors, using Raman's mathematical models to predict patrol patterns. The Harvesters, so dependent on their technology, never considered that intruders could understand the fundamental logic of their society. They reached the central processing core with 12 minutes remaining. Here, the ship's crystalline architecture reached its apex, a vast chamber where the neural network's primary nodes pulsed with energy. The sight was both beautiful and alien, like being inside a living geometric theorem. They're detecting irregularities, Minji warned. 9 minutes. Rodriguez deployed her team according to plan. Each member began placing modified fungal delivery systems at key structural points. The Harvester's own environmental systems would spread the contamination throughout their network. Meanwhile, she and her second-in-command approached the central control crystal. 7 minutes. They're starting to isolate the anomalies. The team's engineer connected their modified harvester tablet to the crystal matrix. Ramen's code began uploading, not an attack, but a question. A mathematical proof that challenged the very foundations of harvester logic. 4 minutes. They've located you. Harvester security forces materialized at every entrance, their weapons charged. But they hesitated, their neural network struggling to process the mathematical contradiction spreading through their systems. 2 minutes. Rodriguez smiled behind her faceplate as she initiated the final sequence. The fungal delivery systems activated, releasing their payload into the ship's circulation. At the same time, the uploaded code reached its conclusion, a paradox that the harvester's rigid logic couldn't resolve. "They're launching a purge sequence," Minji shouted. "Get out now." The team activated their emergency teleport beacons, untested technology that might save them or scatter their atoms across space. As Rodriguez felt the teleport field engage, she saw the first harvester remove its environmental suit, reaching out to touch the contaminated crystal with its bare appendage. They were trying to understand, even at the end. The strike team materialized in their Rocky Mountain facility, all members intact. Above them, the Harvester command ship's perfect crystalline structure began to distort as its crew struggled with concepts they were never designed to process. Paradox, contradiction, and the beautiful illogic of organic evolution. The neural network, the core of Harvester civilization, faced its greatest challenge: how to maintain perfect order in a universe that fundamentally refused to be ordered. The invasion's fate now hung on a philosophical question that humanity had grappled with for millennia. What happens when perfect logic confronts imperfect reality? The Harvester command ship's death throes lit up Earth's sky like a second sun. Its crystalline structure, once a perfect embodiment of mathematical precision, twisted into impossible shapes as Ramen's paradox corrupted its core systems. The sight was simultaneously beautiful and terrifying, a monument to the clash between order and chaos. In her soul bunker, Minji watched the cascading failure spread through the Harvester network. Their rigid protocols, designed to maintain perfect unity, now worked against them. Each ship that connected to the command vessel became infected with the same philosophical virus. "They can't stop themselves from trying to solve it," she explained to Resistance Command. "Their entire civilization is built on the assumption that every problem has a perfect solution. They literally cannot ignore a mathematical question once it's posed." Dr. Chen, monitoring from Geneva, saw something else in the data. The fungal infection is spreading faster than predicted. Their attempts to sterilize their systems are actually accelerating the contamination. It's like watching an autoimmune response. Their defenses are attacking their own infrastructure. The planet killer weapon, still locked in its failing attack pattern, began to fragment. Pieces of its crystalline structure broke away, each shard containing a copy of Ramen's paradox, each one broadcasting the unsolvable question to any harvester ship that came near. Admiral Harrison watched from his command center as the harvester fleet split into 3 groups. The first, closest to the command ship, was already lost to the cascading failure. The second appeared to be attempting some kind of defensive protocol, cutting communications with their infected brethren. The third began to retreat, their perfect formation dissolving for the first time since their arrival. "They're running," someone whispered. "No," Dr. Patel corrected, studying the biological readings. "They're evolving." She was right. The surviving harvesters, faced with the complete collapse of their system, did something unprecedented in their history. They began to adapt. Ships broke from their network, operating independently. Some tried to establish new communication protocols. Others attempted to quarantine themselves from both the paradox and the fungal infection. But it was too late. Earth's weather control network, no longer needed to defend against the planet killer, unleashed its full fury. Electromagnetic storms engulfed the fragmenting fleet. The fungal spores, now evolved to thrive in space, spread from ship to ship. Ramen's paradox continued to replicate through any system that attempted to process it.